Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am Game Master Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, in today's video I'm going to be going over section or chapter 3 of Basic Fantasy Role-Playing Game 4th Edition. I'm going to be focusing on spells and the magic system options that are readily available in Basic Fantasy RPG 4th Edition. You can go right onto the website and you can actually download all of these things, including the core rulebooks, for free. And then if you want physical copies, there are many places where you can go, including Amazon or DriveThruRPG, where you can also get the physical copies of everything that I'm going to talk about here. But for the most part, the supplements that I'm going to talk about are only a couple pages long, so those you're probably just best off just running them off, renting a copy of them off of your PDF that you have available. So without further ado, let's jump right into Basic Fantasy RPG 4th Edition spells and the magic system options that go along with them. So I have quite a few of these that I'm going to go over. So I'm going to start off with just the basic magic system that we have here. So the number of spells each level which a cleric or magic user may cast per day is shown on the appropriate table in the character section starting pages 3. Each morning, spellcasters prepare spells to replace those they have used. Clerics pray while magic users must study their spell books. Spells prepared but not used persist from day to day. Only those actually cast must be replaced. A spellcaster may choose to dismiss a prepared spell without casting it in order to prepare a different spell of that level. Spellcasters must have at least one hand free and be able to speak in order to cast spells. Thus, binding and gauging a spellcaster is an effective means of binding and gagging a spellcaster is an effective means of preventing them from casting spells. In combat, casting a spell usually takes the same time as making an attack. If a spellcaster is attacked, even if not hit, or must make a saving throw, whether successful or not, on the initiative number on which they are casting a spell, the spell is spoiled and lost. As a specific exception, two spellcasters releasing their spells at each other on the same initiative number will both succeed in their casting. One caster may disrupt another with a spell only if they have a better initiative and choose to delay casting the spell until right before the other caster. Some spells are reversible. Such spells are shown with an asterisk after the name. And so here you have clerical spells. And what I really like about this system is that in the core rule books, there aren't a plethora of spells that are available here. You only have roughly 8 per the lower level spells for the most part. But in the cleric's part, there's only 8 per level, all the way up to the maximum 6th level spells. Now there are other supplements that add 7th level spells, but I'm just going to focus on these in this time. So, and you have many of these that you're probably very familiar with if you're already familiar with Dungeons and Dragons. So here you have clerics, now you have magic users, and they go into a little bit more detail about how magic users perform their spell casting via use of spell books. They utilize the spell Read Magic. All magic users begin playing knowing Read Magic. So that's an automatic in their spell books to start off with. I tend to allow them to start off with 2 or 3 spells of first level in their spell book right from the get-go, and I generally add their intelligence bonus as well. But that would be homebrewing, and we will get to some of the other supplemental materials here that are, quote unquote, official for basic fantasy. So here you have, in general, 12 spells for the first and second and third and fourth, and only 10 spells for levels 5 and 6. So you have a slight difference in the number of spells amongst magic users than you did clerics. But they still run the same range of first through sixth level without modification. All right, and then here is the list of all of the spells in alphabetical order. So it will identify, such as you see here, Animate Dead is both a Cleric 4 and a Magic User 5 spell. So it's typically, you'll see which one it is more attuned with. So that's why a Cleric gets it at 4th level, but a Magic User will get it later on at 5th level. And a 5th level spell is really quite high for a Magic User, but also Animating Dead for a Cleric is a fairly high level spell as well, being 4th level out of 6 and 5th level out of 6 for the Magic User. But you'll see that they will identify as either strictly Magic User or strictly Cleric in this volume. And it goes through all of the various magic spells, again, in alphabetical order, which is fine. I don't have as much of a problem with this laying out in alphabetical order, because if we want to look up something really quickly, then it makes it easier to jump right to this section and find the spell that we need the description for. All right, and we will go through, and you can see that there's actually quite a lot of space in the rule book dedicated to these spells. Again, I usually read magic as something, and I will talk about some of the homebrew ideas that they have in here in the supplementals as well, and that one being in particular something that is there. But I won't scroll all the way through all of these. So here is the first supplemental, all right, that I'm going to talk about, and this is for Magic User options. Let me make sure that you are on the same page as I am. All right, so this allows you to kind of tweak those rules a little bit. They have, for instance, an alternate experience table for Magic users. This will allow Magic users to actually level up from levels 1 through 5 a little bit faster, and then it will proceed as normal from level 6 through and beyond. All right, so it does speed that up a little bit, because as most of you, if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons and you're familiar with magic users in Dungeons and Dragons, especially old school Dungeons and Dragons, they have 4 hit points. They're really quite squishy. They tend not to have very many spells at their disposal at first level, and so this is going to allow them to move up a little bit faster in leveling up to become more and more useful to the party. Now, some added spell variety. The GM may want to create a grimoire of spells for the campaign that incorporate the core rule spells and spells from the supplemental appendix in supplements in Appendix C, which is in this, contained in here as well. Arcane Bolt. So this kind of resolves, the Arcane Bolt kind of resolves the dilemma that many low-level magic users are faced with, which, once they've cast their spell, many will resort to using darts or slings. However, incorporating this into your game will actually allow them to do something that is at least a little bit more magic-oriented, and and still isn't game breaking in any way. So they can cast an Arcane Bolt #1, which is the variant that I would most likely use in my own game. In this version, the Arcane Bolt is treated as a normal missile weapon. The player must make a normal combat roll against the target's AC, adding an intelligence bonus and taking into account the range of 10, 20, and 30. The damage is just a D3. The origin is magic, but the effect is in the form of a mundane concussion, so it will not affect creatures who are only affected by magic. However, it will affect inanimate objects. So what I like about this is that it still uses up an action, it still uses up an attack, during their round, and it only deals D3 damage, and they still have to make an attack roll in order for it to be successful. So I kind of like that because it does allow for them to to utilize their strengths, such as their intelligence bonus, all right, and rather than having to rely on having a high dexterity and relying on a missile weapon such as a sling or something like that. And they can cast this every single round, all right, so it's not taking up a magic slot. Now they do have other versions of this that there is a magic version of it. However, if the creature makes a saving throw, it will take no damage, but it will affect magic creatures. And then Bolt 3 is a bolt of raw magic, but is more a sorcery than normal magic. The magician must make an ability roll on intelligence to succeed. If the roll succeeds, the bolt hits, range is 30, damage is D3. If it affects creatures only affected by magic weapons, but not inanimate objects. So it won't damage a door, let's say. They give here a chart for using the ability rolls and what they would basically need based on their level. They give you here armor, and I'm not going to deal with armor, other than the fact that, yeah, they do allow you to wear armor, but you can't cast spells while wearing armor, while previous editions of D&D allowed no armor whatsoever to be worn. So there are some options there. Bonus spells. So this is something that I've always done in my own games, regardless of the fantasy role-playing system that I'm using. All right. Now this one's a little bit different than what I was doing. I was basically using it at at a 16 you get a +1 first level spell. At a 17 you get a plus second level spell, 1 second level spell, and at 18 you get a plus third level spell. And so if you had an 18 intelligence, you would get an extra 1, 2, and 3, along with it. What they do here, actually, which is a slightly better system, I think. If you're using cantrips, they give you the bonus cantrips plus those spell bonuses, and they give them a little bit earlier. So if you have a 12 intelligence, you're going to get to be able to cast 1 extra cantrip. If you have a 13 to a 15, +1 first level spell and a +1 cantrip. 16 to 17, 2 first level spells and +2 cantrips. And at 18, 2 first, 1 second, and 3 bonus cantrip spells. So I kind of like this system better than what I have been homebrewing in my own system as well. Liberal casting allows you to memorize spells in order to use them. They're not to be confused with preparing a spell, as is done in the standard rules. In this system, memorized spells are not lost when it is cast. So you still have the spell memorized, but the number of spells the caster may use per day is used in the system as both the number of spells that can be memorized and the number that can be cast. However, the two functions are separated. That's a little bit complicated. I mean, there's other systems that you can use as well. But I like the fact that this here allows you to do free casting, and there's slot demotion. So if I really want to cast another magic missile spell and I've already cast it for the day, I can sacrifice a second level spell to cast a magic missile spell. Now, it is not a I get two first levels for sacrificing one second level. No, you still rolling just the one regular magic missile for damage, and you're not getting a second one. You're just absorbing the magic from the two, level 2 to level 1 without any other benefit other than being able to swap them out. Cheap spell transcription you have here to eliminate the 500 gold per level cost to transcribe a spell into your spell book. Flavor magic should reflect the magician's personality. The player chooses visually or odoriferous effects for his spell. I mean, that's just role playing. And you should allow the player to describe. I would just ask, or suggest to my players if they wanted to do something like this to keep it consistent, keep it kind of, if you cast a magic missile and it sounds and looks and even smells as it's going through the air a certain way, that's the way it always looks, unless you're studying a new version of magic missile, which might be the same as the other one mechanically, but you want to change the way it looks, and that might be fine as well. Free cantrip use, so you can cast cantrips as often as you want without the selection. I wouldn't do that necessarily right from the get-go. I'd rather incorporate the bonuses to cantrips and have that. I don't want my players to be wasting too much time casting cantrips, just out of boredom. So inherent detect magic and inherent read magic. I'm leaning towards the read magic. So all magicians will have automatic read magic. All spellcasters might have an inherent detect magic, but they would only be able to do that through touch, as this recommends here. Illusionists wouldn't be able to read magic. They would be able to. No, I'm sorry. Illusionists will be able to read magic. So with clerics, but illusionists won't be able to detect magic inherently. They would be able to detect illusions inherently. And druids, I'm leaning towards giving them something like Speak with Animals, which is a first level spell for them. Or Animal Friendship, I believe, is a first level spell for them. And so I would give them that as an inherent ability. Saving throw bonuses for magic. Again, these are all things that are going to either make your magic users a little bit more powerful, a little less squishy perhaps, and give them a little bit more versatility. So that's what a lot of these things are doing. And you're going to go through these and take a look at them as you see fit. So let me talk a little bit about the 0 level spells. And I've always been a fan of these. I mean, I loved when these came out in Unearthed Arcana, and there's not a whole slew of these, so they're pretty limited in the number that they are, which is also something that's pretty decent. Spellcasters learn a number of 0 level spells equal to 1d4 plus the relevant ability bonus while in training, and can learn additional cantrips at any time a trainer is available. Non-spellcasters may only learn 0 level spells from a trainer. I wouldn't allow them to learn spells at all if they're a non-spellcaster. Anyway, clerics, they're called orisons, and they can call to worship Cure Minor Wounds, which only heals 1 hit point of damage. guidance, meal blessing, mend, verdict, predict weather, virtue, ward, and water to wine. All right. So druids would have druids have the same list as clerics. I don't necessarily agree with that, but okay. Magic user cantrips, and you have animate tool, clean, flare, flavor, inscribe, irritate not, mage hand, open or close, summon vermin. Now this isn't summoning like a whole bunch of giant rats or something like that. This is a cantrip that summons just one small, ordinary insect or mouse or something along those lines. Nothing that is going to be like a close to a familiar. And then transfigure, which changes a small object up to 27 cubic inches into another shape, size, color, or texture. Interesting little thing. Uh, Illusionist cantrips use the same as magic users. Necromancer cantrips, if you're using necromancers in your game, then they have bolster, embalm, and negate stench. They can get rid of the stench of death that surrounds their creations, I guess. So now we'll take a look at the druid very, very briefly, and I will cover these classes in more detail separately. But I just want to go over their spells. So here you have their spell list. Druids don't get a first level spell unless, of course, bonused from their wisdom bonus. So here they would get none at first level. They start with a spell at second level, and it has a list of all of their spells. Now the spells that are in bold are unique to this supplement. So create water, cure light wounds, and detect magic are from the cleric, and or magic user lines, as in detect magic. And that's why I said that I would give them an innate ability to animal friendship as a first level spell, just to kind of balance it out with the other spellcasters. But you can see here that they have 8 per level all the way up to 6. Illusionists, same thing. I will go into more detail with illusionists, but you can see that they follow much closer to the magic user line, only having one spell at first level, and then it expands, all the way up to level 20, where they're getting all of their spells. Obviously, they start getting level 6 spells at 11th level. But anyway, and then they, of course, have unique spells here. I decided to make Detect Illusion their automatic. They can cast that at will. And, of course, they go all the way up through 6th level as well. And then the last, Rangers, surprisingly enough, and let me make sure you're looking at Rangers now. Rangers, surprisingly enough, have no spell casting that I can tell in here. I haven't done a full churn into here, but Paladins do. But it takes a long time for Paladins to actually get a spell use. All right, they don't get it until 10th level, 450,000 experience points before they can actually cast spells. Now they do have other divine abilities. All right, once per day, a paladin can lay on hands to any wounded character and heal 2 hit points of damage. Add the paladin's charisma bonus to that roll or to that point amount. On each odd numbered level, so 3, 5, etc., the paladin may do this 1 additional time per day. So twice at level 3, 3 times at level 5, and so on. Starting at level 7, the paladin may choose to cure disease as a spell instead of providing healing as above. At level 11, the paladin may substitute that with neutralize poison, But of course, at level 10, they're actually getting a spell that they can cast. Paladins gain the ability to cast appropriate clerical spells at level 10 for the purpose of spell effects that vary based on the cleric's level. Use 1/2 the paladin's level rounded down. All right, and so on. So that is kind of an overview of everything that that's really at your disposal now. I didn't include necromancers in this kind of overview because that is something that's usually not seen. It's a class that's usually not seen in the core of of most old school D&D setups, but it's certainly in there. I will focus on them when I'm going over and talking about the individual classes throughout all of basic fantasy. So I will certainly go into detail with them then. So overall, I mean, I'm really impressed with this system, and I'm actually looking forward to running a campaign using Basic Fantasy 4th Edition. It's been long overdue that I actually start running this game system. I've had 3rd edition for a number of years now, and although I've read it here and there and gone through it a little bit, I've never done the in-depth that I'm doing now with 4th edition, and I actually never ran it. So this will be my first time running it. It's a very, very simple system to use, so nothing, nothing out of the ordinary. And when I get to the actual videos talking about, how you actually play the game, how you actually do the combat mechanics and all of that, you're going to see how familiar this system is going to be to you if you, or for you, if you've done any kind of fantasy role playing. It is really that simple. Whether it's old school or modern, you're going to see how this system seamlessly fits in with your experience. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please continue enjoying your weekend. I hope you had a great weekend. Almost Monday morning here, so just in a couple more hours, it'll be Monday morning, and we're all, or many of us, are back to our work schedules and everything. So I really do encourage you to check out as many new systems as you possibly can. You can see, something like this. I know my enthusiasm for this is certainly coming out, and as an old school gamer, when I come across a system that that still really, gets to me, really strikes what I'm looking for. It strikes that right balance that I'm looking for. That's something that really encourages me that, there's still so many great systems out there that you might not have discovered just yet. And that's a major thing that I try to do with this channel. So if you really enjoyed this and you enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing. Definitely leave your comments in there in the comments section. I respond to comments as quickly as I can, and I try to respond to all of them that I can, even if it's just putting a thumbs up and a heart on it. But many times I actually respond to them as well. And sometimes your comments will generate new content on the channel, which I always try to point out when I do that. So again, please remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share these videos out there. And as always, I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen or at a gaming convention sometime soon. You all have a great remainder of your weekend. And, just thanks for stopping in. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great evening. And my page is not showing. the closing screens sometimes just get messed up on this. So I apologize for that. And I will stop it here.